Hello friend, this is Ryan Hicks of TalkToProfit.com, and for this Reseller Friday, I want to talk to you about becoming a thrift store millionaire. Is this a dream or a reality? Now, when I'm talking about this, I'm not talking about the people who find some rare Roman sculpture that's worth millions of dollars. I'm not talking about somebody who finds money in some pockets or something, or they find some valuable diamond or any. I'm not talking about these rare lotto win type scenarios that are just 1 in a billion. I'm talking about you consistently, day in and day out, going to thrift stores, purchasing inventory for you to resell for a profit. Can that lead to you becoming a millionaire, or is it just a dream? Is it just a fantasy that people throw out there? Now, if you look at the average person who is talking about thrifting and reselling, most of them, of course, are not living that life. They are living in a dream world. Now, many of them, to be fair, are not trying to become millionaires reselling at all. They are just doing it as a hobby. But I want to caution you against something, because sometimes you'll see some of these people, they're talking about, oh, I got this and I sold $50 of stuff today. And that's great. Not criticizing that at all. People each have individual goals for what they're doing. That's fine. But I presume if you're watching my videos, you're a little different. You're wired a little different. You want the best. You want to be the best you could possibly be. You want to be the greatest success possible. Like I talk about in all my videos, not just the reselling videos. I talk about becoming more like God. And if you're doing that, you're striving for that, you want to do the best you could possibly do. You don't want to be average. You don't want to be like everyone else. You don't want to do just enough. You want to be the ultra successful, best person you could possibly be, whatever that may mean for you. But many people are not doing that. They're not striving for that. They'll even say, well, I'm just trying to get enough to pay a car payment. And that's perfectly fine. Like I said, I'm not criticizing that. But if you're watching my videos, you're a little different. You want to be the best you could possibly be. And so you got to be careful, because there can be this mentality, and I've seen it seep into many resellers' mindsets where they think, well, I just want enough, I'm doing fine. And they start pulling back. This happens in every business. This is not just reselling. I've seen this in so many businesses. And unfortunately, when I was in my early 20s, I did this myself. You start getting comfortable. You got money coming in. I remember, every day I was going to the bank, pulling out $5,000, just buying random stuff. Every day. And just blowing through money, but not pushing my business to the next level. And even though it was doing very well, I wasn't pushing it to the next level. I wasn't doing those things I should be doing to keep ramping it up and keep doing more and keep scaling up even more and more. And sometimes resellers will hit a kind of a wall. It becomes very difficult. It's easy when you're doing a little bit here and there. You're just doing like kind of a hobby. And reselling is easy in general compared to other businesses. You start and you found them and all the intricacies of them. Reselling is much easier. It is one of the easiest businesses you could possibly get in. And I know some people say it's hard. It's not. It can get hard, of course. Anything can be made hard. But in comparison with other businesses, which is the only thing you compare it with, it is very easy. But as you scale up, it can get more and more difficult. Now, it also can get easier as you scale up, because you start taking on employees and they start doing some of the work for you, and you start doing less work, and your work is more about managing the components of the business and the people involved, and less about doing the actual physical labor each and every day. But that's not harder, of course. But sometimes people hit this wall. It's getting hard. They don't have systems in place to make it easier on themselves. They haven't learned a lot. So they've learned some stuff, of course, but they're not improving. And I've talked to resellers before, and it's taking them 10 minutes to take pictures for an item and ask them, what are they doing? And they don't even know. They're not even striving at all to improve their processes. So that person, if they continue to improve and scale up their listing habit, so if they're listing 5 a day and they go to listing 10 a day, it's going to be much harder for them because they are not improving their processes at all. So now instead of doing 50 minutes worth of pictures each day, now they're doing 100 minutes worth of pictures. When the reality is they can still do those 10 sets of pictures, but they could do it in half the time if they improve their processes, and they're not doing it. And so, of course, that becomes harder. And if you're approaching reselling that way, it's going to get harder. It's going to be hard for you because you're just scaling up without any of the efficiencies that make it easier. And so those people will often, in that position, because it's getting harder for them because they're trying to scale up, but they're not improving their processes enough to make it easier for them, where they can use the same amount of time and get even more work done. They're not doing that. It just takes more time to get more work done. They'll often hit a plateau. Well, 5 a day is all right. So instead of going to 10, which they want to go to, they shrink back. They say, oh, that's good enough. And so many people are in that rut. And there's so many people on social media promoting this rut that they're in. And they'll justify it all kinds of ways. Well, I'm retired, and they have all these excuses. Well, I'm just trying to pay for a car payment. Oh, I'm just trying to send my kids to school. Whatever it is, they have some sort of foundational limitation that they bring up to justify their not improving, justify their scaling back. And those people can never be millionaires in the reselling business because they refuse to do the things that need to be done to get to that next level. And the next level does not mean you have to work even more. Now, if you know me, you know I'm about promoting hard work done intelligently. I have a book I wrote called Work Smarter and Harder. The ennobling power of work, because that is important. I'm not ever suggesting that you only work smarter and you don't work harder. I'm all about hard work, but it must be done intelligently. And you scaling up and not improving your processes any is not going to lead to you being a millionaire. But there are things you can do day in and day out, and you have to understand it's going to take time. But if you have faith and you have persistence and you have diligence, you can absolutely go from just this little hobby seller to actually selling millions of dollars a year worth of items on any kind of marketplace, whether it be Poshmark or eBay or Amazon or Etsy or whatever it is. You can absolutely do it if you will do certain things to improve your processes and to ramp up. You can never be that person that shrinks back. You can never be that person that looks for excuses to justify why they're not doing more. And yes, maybe you are right now maxed out at what you can do. That's all right. How can you improve your processes? Like that individual I was talking about that was taking 10 minutes to take one set of pictures for one item. I gave them some tips, told them some pictures to take out that they were taking that were completely useless and a waste of their time. Gave them some tips on improving the actual picture taking itself so it took less time. Gave them a tip about how to set up a photo station so they're not always, because one of the things they were doing was, okay, I have this big item, so I need to go over here and take the picture over here. And I got this smaller item, I take it over here. So they're having to run all over their house to take pictures. And I told them a very simple, cheap method that cost them nothing to set up a good photo station that they could take all the pictures in one place, which cut out a huge amount of the time. It cut out about 50% of the time right there, just one simple thing. And then cutting out some of the extra pictures that were not helpful. Because listen, what you're trying to do when you're taking pictures is to convey to the customer all the information they need to make the purchase. If there's any flaws in the item, if there's any characteristics they need to see that might differentiate it from what somebody else is selling, you don't need to take 10 pictures of the back of a, say, DVD case. If one picture they can read the description, they can see everything they need to see, that's good enough. And sometimes many people take so many pictures that waste time, and it makes their process take a lot longer, and it doesn't help them scale up because the time they are spending wasting taking extra pictures that the customer does not need or want makes less time they could be listing another additional item. And so I want to encourage you to not be one of these people that shrinks back, to be one of these people that ramps up what you're doing. If you're going to 2 thrift stores a day, maybe go to 3 and start building up from there. If you're listing 5 items a day, maybe you list 7. Start ramping up. It doesn't matter where you are right now. Start ramping up from where you are. Increase and improve your processes so it takes you less time. If you're going into a thrift store, I'll give you an example of what I used to do. I had a whole thrift route, went to a bunch of stores, sometimes about a dozen a day, and I took an actual notepad and wrote down how much I purchased at that store, what was the potential resale value of all of it, and I took notes. I did this for about a month, and so I got a good idea of each thrift store, the potential profit that was there each day, and I stopped going to some of those thrift stores every day because the profit was not worth my time. The profit potential was not. And so I went to those thrift stores maybe once a week, maybe once a month, because some of them were really poor. You'd go there and be the same stuff, like they're barely putting new stuff out almost ever. So it's not worth my time going there each and every day. These are just little things, but if you'll do this, stop taking it as a hobby. Stop taking it as just, oh, I'm just having some fun here. And you can have fun reselling. Most people enjoy the thrifting part, but the problem is they don't enjoy the listing and doing the other stuff that actually gets them to the greater success. You're going to be the person that can be diligent, can understand, okay, maybe I don't like this one thing I got to do in the business, but I do it and I become a greater success each and every day. And I do it and I improve on it. So each and every day I'm getting more work done in the same amount of time or even less time. And my friend, if you'll do this, you can find that being a thrift store millionaire is not just a dream, but it can actually be your reality if you'll do the things you need to do each and every day. And if you need help with this, I don't talk about this much, but I have a coaching program. It's mainly for law of attraction and more spiritual matters, but it applies to any business. It's for business coaching and obviously for reselling. If you need help, you need someone to kind of come alongside you, lift you up. Somebody actually knows what you're going through, not just some random person that is running some hobby business and hasn't sold much and doesn't know anything about reselling, barely. I'd be happy to help you. You can go to my website. You can click on the link there for coaching. I'll put a link in the description as well if you would like help with that. I'd like to be a blessing for you. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.